How's it going, everybody? It's Jake from Down the Middle, and you may be a little confused because it's not a podcast week. Well, I've teased it for a bit. I've mentioned it many times before that, and what I have for you today is the first of many special treats. The first ever episode of Weekly Wrestling Wrap-Up. The internet wrestling show I did many, many years before this one, 17 years ago, we did the first episode, as a matter of fact. This episode, to give you... Oh, if you've been a wrestling fan for a long time, you'll get a kick out of this. Like I said, 17 years ago. This was the week of June 18th, so starting with Monday Night Raw. June 18th, 2007. To give you a little bit more obvious and an idea of how long ago this was the episode of Monday Night Raw where Vince McMahon's limousine blew up. Remember that? Yeah. That was our first ever episode. So this episode would have aired on June 24th. It would have been the following Sunday because that's when we released them on a very, very old video streaming platform. Not YouTube. This is before... YouTube was around, but this is before Google bought YouTube, and it became the behemoth that it is today. We released this on stage6.divx. For all of you computer nerds out there, the DivX video codec was not brand new, but it was very popular at this time as a streaming platform because it gave you, at the time, very good resolution with pretty low file size by the standards of that day. So, like I said, this episode came out June 24th. Now, I will caution you, the first two episodes of this series are not particularly funny, although having watched it back, it's shorter than I remember, and it's not quite as serious as I remember. I'm not going to say it's funny. We make a couple jabs here and there, but I wouldn't call this a comedy series. That's the first two episodes. Fortunately, by episode 3, it becomes comedy pretty quick. But it's going to be funny for a lot of you wrestling fans out there because it's going to take you back. Like I said, Vince McMahon's limo blew up in that episode of Raw. Another draft had just happened. Bobby Lashley had been drafted as ECW champion. This was back when WWE's ECW was still on TV. He got drafted to Raw. And a bunch of other crazy stuff happened. It's weird. It's weird to go back and watch this. But hopefully you guys, you probably won't enjoy the first two. But maybe you'll get a kick out of it. I don't know. But anyway, enjoy episode 1 of Weekly Wrestling Wrap-Up. Let's go.
Hello out there, wrestling fans. I'm Hot Stuff Joey Holmes.
And I'm Jake Russell here to give you this week's occurrences in wrestling.
Go for it.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to start off with the happenings of Raw. Of course, any of you who have been watching saw the McMahon footage in which he burst into flames. We're still wondering what that was all about, aren't we?
I pretty much feel that he farted and it pretty much made the limo explode.
You know, they mentioned that it was, a gas can igniting. They didn't specify what kind of gas, though.
Well, Undertaker's disappeared, so I'm starting to think that maybe he's a little pissed about losing the world title and decided to go after Vince. I don't know. So, pretty much all I want to say about that is it needs to stop. Because, honestly, if any wrestling fan out there believes that Mr. McMahon is deceased, you need to die too. Because...
That's awful harsh there, Joe.
Yes. It is.
It's what we do.
The one thing I'll say, folks, if a billionaire actually if his limo actually exploded, don't you think it'd be all over the news? It'd be just as big a news as Anna Nicole dying, which, who really cares? But you gotta admit, and also they would call him Vince McMahon instead of just Mr. McMahon. This is just WWE's way of killing off the Mr. McMahon character. The way they chose to do it is
questionable at best.
Yes, and
although another avenue that I didn't tell you about earlier was, you'll notice that on that episode of Raw, Donald Trump made a statement about how he thought McMahon was being very childish and kind of poking fun at him. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if he's going to try to bring Trump back into the wrestling scene again, which I hope not, because while the Battle of Billionaires was entertaining at WrestleMania 23, it wasn't nearly as big as Vince was trying to make it.
WrestleMania wasn't as big as Vince was trying to make it.
Which, ironically, the theme being all grown up, you would have thought
he would actually grow up. Yeah. I would have hoped. Yeah, I understand the all grown up theme, but
well, with it being the 20-year anniversary of the big Andre Hogan match, but that's it.
All right.
Apart from that, not a whole lot happened on Raw, with the exception of the draft. Although,
For a 3-hour Raw, which actually the best part of Raw on Monday night, besides the all unimportant draft, was pretty much how all the superstars from all three brands were brought together and actually had some pretty good matches. John Cena and Edge had an okay match to add to their already pretty good rivalry. The rivalry ended a while ago, but it was good to see them both in the ring again. You know, champion versus champion, both very deserving champions. I really don't care.
without a doubt.
Yes, what all you Cena haters
And all
think
you
out
Edge
there.
haters. For
Yeah. Edge is the best heel in wrestling.
Exactly. You're supposed to hate his character, but you got to respect the man.
Yes.
He plays his character well, and he's a pretty good wrestler too. So
And Cena, why people don't like Cena, I don't know. Look, I like John Cena. I've liked him since he won his first WWE title. I saw it live. I was very impressed. The match where he won it wasn't great, but he's definitely proven himself over the past, must have been 3 years or 2 years now since he first won the WWE title.
well, anyway, let's go on to the draft results of the people who came over to Raw. Why don't you remind us there, Joe?
All right, the people who came to Raw.
Bobby Lashley.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Man from Kitchen. Bobby Lashley came to Raw, and it
Which-
was great until he was actually stripped of the ECW Championship, which,
Opens up a whole new possibility for champion ECW, and we'll touch on that later when we go to our ECW update. But for now, Lashley on Raw could really go both ways, don't you think? It could be good, it could be bad.
well, considering I'm a Cena fan, I don't like it because Bobby is on a great roll, and they're trying to really push him for the WWE audience, which is going to backfire eventually. They keep really trying to push him as a babyface. I think he really does have a lot of talent, and he seems like a very good wrestler. He's a good technician, which we learned also on Raw because he had a good match with Benoit.
Exactly.
Pretty much
It's-
from that, there were a lot of good matchups from all three brands. I'm trying to think of who else.
I will say it was pretty refreshing to just have a couple of good matches without any drama or whatnot. Granted, they were 4 draft picks, but, you know.
Yeah, but the draft, on the other hand, was, as I expected, extremely disappointing because they build it up and build it up and build it up, saying, "Oh, anyone can go anywhere and titles can change." WWE, you're full of shit. I'm sorry, but you're not going to strip Cena the title. You're not going to strip Edge the title because Edge finally has a title he deserves. You know, I'm sorry. I loved Undertaker. I didn't want to see him lose the title, but he had to go on vacation.
And Edge has been slumming it for a while.
Yeah, and it's
Especially since Rated RKO broke up and all that. Well, ever since Matt and Jeff Hardy lost their titles, well, don't get me wrong, Trevor and Murdoch.
they're very. When they first came into the WWE scene, they won the tag titles within a couple months they were here, and they weren't an established tag team. Not saying they weren't good, but their characters weren't established. Since running this little rivalry with Matt and Jeff, they've really got it established, which I'm guessing was WWE's plan all along. Take an established tag team as the Hardys, give them tag titles, have them hold it longer than 2 days like they used to when they actually held the titles, which was very refreshing, and it was kind of like a reward in a sense. And they established Caden Murdoch, so I like Caden Murdoch now. They will be the lead heel tag team.
I would have liked to see the Hardys carry the titles for a little bit longer, considering they were just on the cover of WWE Magazine as a tag team.
Yeah.
But, you know,
But I would really like to see Jeff go after the Intercontinental title again. He deserves it.
that would be nice. That would be nice.
I know you have your problems with Matt Hardy. I like Matt Hardy.
I don't have my problems with Matt Hardy. I just don't like his intro.
I know.
And that little skip thing he does.
Yeah, I know. But I think he's proven himself time again. How
Oh no,
good a
he's
singles
a,
competitor
he's
he
a, he's
is.
a wonderful wrestler, and I like watching his matches. I just really wish he would stop doing that skippy thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even have so much of a problem with his little hand thing anymore. But I mean, Jeff makes it work with the
little dance he does.
yeah,
when he comes
that's a
out.
cool dance.
Also, he comes out to the original Hardy Boys music.
Gets me excited.
So, yeah, I'm sure.
Plus his glow in the dark body paint.
Yeah, he still does that.
That's good stuff.
Too. Let's see. The Intercontinental title is in the deserving hands of an Italian who I've nicknamed Rocky Balboa. He has proven himself to be a pretty good wrestler.
He had a wonderful match against Chris Masters a couple
He
weeks
does.
ago.
And Chris Masters needs to really work on his game because he could whoop that Italian in a street fight. You know, I don't even want to say his name, Santino, but
You all know who he is.
last thing, with the whole McMahon thing, it's definitely shocking, and they're definitely taking it. It's something new that wrestling's never done before, because we've had a lot of former wrestlers pass away, and like Eddie Guerrero or Owen Hart, and they've had tribute shows for him. And this isn't making a mockery out of those, but I think it's coming close. And it's really, I think, very tacky by WWE, because we know Vince isn't dead.
So, I mean, the company's still running.
The company's still running. If he really was dead, the family would be more part of the shows, and the wrestlers would be a little bit more sad.
And they would be doing a much bigger memorial than dedicating matches.
Yeah, and like I said, it would be all over the news if someone actually killed Mr. McMahon.
Right.
So, I don't know where they're going with it, and from the research I've gathered and asking other people, nobody understands what the hell is going on. I don't even think WWE knows what's going on. I just think this was something Vince thought of, and he knew it was a hit or miss, and so far it's a huge miss.
And like I said, there's still a chance to redeem it if the surprise that when he comes back, or if he comes back at all, or if somebody's behind it, if the surprise is good, the shock factor is good, it'll be worth it. But as of right now, I can't say that I'm too impressed.
It's a piece of shit. So, I give it a fucking big thumbs down. I guess our next report will be on ECW.
That's with me. What's up, everybody? It's time to recap on ECW. I'm Jake Russell here with the info in the Land of Extreme. Well, first thing that happened on ECW that night, they showed the McMahon footage again. Taz and Joey Styles seemed like they didn't really want to, but they said that every match that night was going to be reminiscent to the late, great Mr. McMahon. Give me a break. It didn't affect anybody like it was. The fact that it's all over WWE.com does not make it as important as he wanted it to be. Sorry, Vince, it didn't work. Although I still hold by that. If the end's good, I'll forgive you. Anyway, first match of the night was Tommy Dreamer against Balls Mahoney in an Extreme Rules match. That got me excited, and gotta say, I understand you guys aren't as young as you used to be anymore, but particularly Balls Mahoney, you just weren't mobile. Still, it was a fun match, and it was cool to reminisce a little bit. Glad the Dreamer got the win, and Balls going through a table was worth it. That was overall a pretty good match. Could have been better, but like I said, they're not getting any younger. And then the next match was Boogeyman's debut, who was recently drafted to ECW from SmackDown. That was pretty good. He faced Matt Striker, and as Matt Striker usually does, he lost. And Boogie had a pretty fun match. It was fun to watch. And I can honestly say, Boogeyman belongs in ECW. He's an extremist, and I think we'll see some pretty good matches out of him. If nothing else, it'll be pretty funny. And Matt Striker got in a mouthful of worms. That was nice. And then the big kahuna match was a tag team match with Chris Benoit and CM Punk versus Elijah Burke and the Alpha Male. That match was excellent. Already had the heat with Burke, and we all know that Burke does not like ECW originals, and we all know Benoit was an ECW original. For those of you who don't, it's true. And I'm having high hopes for Benoit on the Land of Extreme. I'm hoping he goes for the ECW title soon, and I hope he gets it. Because honestly, I don't see anybody else in ECW who has the hands capable of carrying a world title at this point in time, what with Lashley being gone. And we're just on that match. Excellent, excellent match. I hope Benoit and CM Punk team up more. And as a note on RVD, there have been rumors circulating all over the internet that he's not renewing his contract with WWE, which should be expiring very, very soon. I can't remember what the actual date was. No press releases from RobVanDam.com or WWE.com have been made, so I'm not jumping to any conclusions. Rumors are that he's either retiring for good, taking a leave of absence, then getting a more lax schedule from WWE, or that he's going to drop WWE and go to TNA. We don't know. Personally, I don't think that he would go to TNA because the pay would be less and his schedule would be just as hectic. Granted, he wouldn't have to go across the country, but, And plus, I honestly think that RVD would be wasted in TNA. That's my personal opinion. For all you people who love TNA, no disrespect. Just how I feel. Personally, I think if RVD is going to do anything, he's going to take some time off. I mean, a couple of years. Might come back to the wrestling scene for a little bit, but he's not going to be a mainstream superstar, at least I don't think. Of course, he could surprise us. He is the whole effing show. I would be glad to see him come back, because RVD's why I got into wrestling again. That's a story for another time, though. Anyway, we'll wrap this session of ECW recap up and go to SmackDown with Joey
Holmes. What's up, wrestling fans? This is Hot Stuff Joey Holmes here with the SmackDown recap. Now, for the third time this week, SmackDown did a recap of what happened on Raw to Mr. McMahon. Look, I know what you're trying to do. Stop it. I'm tired of it. Look, I know Vince really isn't dead. I know this is a storyline. And I know so much about wrestling now that sometimes the line between wrestling and reality, it gets extremely blurred. And it does for a lot of people. I know you're not really dead. So unless you're planning some kind of comeback, Undertaker style, stop it. Just come out to the ring and say, gotcha, because I don't want any more of it. Because I'm tired of everyone have to act all sad because, you know what? The crowd's not going to respect this. They're going to keep booing it, which, yeah, it's inappropriate, but they know it's not real. It's not going to work. It's not getting across. So you can maybe try and play around with it for another couple weeks, but as my mom used to tell me, you keep playing with it, you're going to go blind. They had a really good tag team match. The best tag team, one of the best tag teams in wrestling today, Brian Kendrick and Paul London. They lost to Deuce and Domino, but Deuce and Domino are the tag team champs. They're not undeserving tag team champions. And they're definitely not undeserving because they're Italian. Again, nothing against Italians, you're just taking all the damn titles. So, Kendrick and London deserve to be champions once again. I don't want them to be one-time champions because they are an awesome tag team. I don't see either one of them going back into the Cruiserweight division, not yet. And they're not going to be opponents. They're too good of a tag team. And it finally pretty much led up to MVP and Batista as a rematch. But to comment on the Batista MVP match, MVP at WrestleMania showed, honestly, the entire world what an awesome technician he is. If he didn't dress like a Power Ranger, I would respect him 100%. But, hey, a guy who can wrestle like that, he can dress however he wants. If I become a big enough fan, I might go to work as a Power Ranger. You just don't know. Honestly, MVP just made Batista look bad tonight. He made him look terrible because MVP is not the biggest guy, and for him to really beat the crap out of Batista the way he did, technically, it just makes Batista look horrible. And I know Batista is like a Hogan. No offense to Hogan. You know, they're not great technicians. They have technical skills, and they are good wrestlers, but they're not a Benoit or an Angle or a Luthez, if you want to go way back in time, you know, or a Bob Backlund. They're not those people. And it's fine. They don't need to be. But it just made Batista look bad tonight. It really did. So, MVP was probably the all-star of the night. He really took it to Batista. In Cruiserweight news, they're finally doing something with the Cruiserweight title. Unlike on Raw, they're doing nothing with the women's title, which is disappointing because, well, I love to see the Divas. But anyway, Jimmy Wang Yang won a fatal four-way match, and he became the number one contender, which you knew it was coming. Give me a freaking break. He's going to go up against Chavo at Vengeance, and it's probably honestly going to be a great match. I love Chavo Guerrero as a Cruiserweight champion. Jimmy Wang Yang as a character I thought was the most stupid creation on the face of this earth. But he's grown on me. He's a great wrestler. Not the best gimmick in the world, but it's not the worst. So I hope he wins at Vengeance. The main event of the night was the World Heavyweight Champion Edge versus Nature Boy Ric Flair. Honestly, a pretty good match. Flair, for the longest time, I was hoping he'd retire. I thought he was really killing his image in his wrestling career. He's not. He can still have really good matches, really great matches. He was drafted to SmackDown, which was a great move. He gave Edge a run for his money. There was no winner in this match because MVP ran in out of nowhere, and I'm hoping MVP and Flair start a rivalry because that'll add more credit to MVP and maybe put another gold belt with Flair. It might, and that'd be cool. Then Batista ran in and just got speared by Edge. So honestly, the loser of the week has to go to Batista because you've gotten your ass kicked this week, Batista. I love you, big man, but you've gotten your ass whooped this week. Right now, we're going to go back to the wrap-up. So see you then. And welcome to the end of the weekly wrestling wrap-up.
The wrap-up of the wrap-up, if you will.
True. We've already gone through all 3 shows. We want to thank anyone who actually tuned into this, which you're probably a close friend or family member. So
At least for the first episode. And for those of you who may have found us through later episodes and actually took the time to backtrack all the way to the first episode, kudos.
And, I promise next time I'll be more awake.
And I'll be more informative and less weird.
And we'll actually write stuff down. But we're going to go through now, and we're actually going to rate Raw, ECW, and SmackDown. And to comment on something that I just thought of, the reason why we're just talking about WWE and not TNA 2, because...
I'm sorry to interrupt, but before we go any further with this, to all of you TNA fans out there, no disrespect. It's just that and we can't even put our finger on it. TNA's got a lot of talent, but we don't feel like they're using them right. And
can't even put a toe.
There is something about the way they do the show. I can't even put my finger on it. I just don't like it. So
we wish them all the best. And
exactly.
We may start watching. I've
tried. I've seriously tried. I think I've sat down and I watched an entire episode too. I watched about 4 or 5 episodes of TNA.
Yep.
Probably the same reason some of you TNA fans don't like WWE. You just don't like it.
Just can't put your finger on it.
So,
or a toe.
So please don't send us any hate mail.
Or if you do, we don't care.
Well, we might care, but
unless they're death threats. But if you take it that far, get a life.
It's an internet show, people.
Yeah. Even if it's that.
We're nobodies.
And also, after every episode, we're going to start naming what we call, well, it is, but it's a classic match. Ours, the first one we're going to pick, in honor of RVD either retiring or injured by Orton. Water. That is funny. The match that we pick, honestly, probably one of the best matches ECW ever had, if not the best, was a sequel to RVD, as a lot of people know, was the ECW television champion for almost 2 years, 23 months before he had to relinquish the belt due to injuries, which was
to the network even. That was bad. To the network.
To Cyrus. RVD, probably the only person to ever give him a run for his money for the title was Jerry Lynn.
Other than Jerry Lynn.
Yeah. Jerry Lynn, who probably deserved a better career than he got. But he did have a very good career. He was eventually the ECW heavyweight champion, so he really had a good career with ECW. Their first match was a classic. It went 20 minutes and an extra almost 5, and RVD pinned Jerry Lynn for the title. To retain the title. And then the sequel to that was at Hardcore Heaven at 99, where there was no time limit for the ECW title. The match went just about 40 minutes, and these two men
beat the living shit out of each other.
Technical
martial arts,
tables,
hardcore, everything.
Bill Alfonso got in Jerry Lynn's face every now and then. Only one thing went wrong in this match. Jerry and RVD both took a tumble off the top rope. Besides that, the match was perfect. Excellent. And even with that, the match was perfect.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was the match you showed me that actually got me back into wrestling.
Yep. And got you obsessed with RVD.
Best there ever was.
Which we are.
I know all you Bret Hart fans out there, but RVD is where it's at. He's got it all.
Anyway.
And no, I don't have this obsessed. I am obsessed with RVD.
He's a good guy. But the match itself was classic, ending with RVD honestly barely winning. It took two 5-star frog splashes from the top.
So that's a 10-star frog splash.
Yep. And he retained the title and had it for a while. So we honestly suggest everyone trying to find that match. The one DVD you can find it on is The Rise and Fall of ECW, which is an awesome documentary.
Very good documentary. Very informative.
Yep.
Tells you a lot about the old ECW and gives you new respect for it.
Yep. And it has that match and actually a lot of other very classic matches on there.
Very many.
So that is a match that I think everyone should tune into, and every week we'll name another. And so keep writing them down so you can watch them.
And also, any of you who want to send us any emails, which if there's one of you out there, please do it, because we plan on reading some fan mail. Just send it to the email address down there.
I'm looking at it. The email address, that is.
And we'll read what you have to say. And emails with anything. Questions, comments, frustrations, hate mail, whatever you want.
If you're bored. Because we are.
have nothing better to do, like us.
Honestly, to be truthful to end this, I've been a wrestling fan most of my life.
I fell out of it.
And got into it.
Yeah,
Big
thanks
time.
to this guy right here.
Yep. It's just fun to do this, so hopefully we can continue to do this every week. So I am kind of Hot Stuff Joey Holmes.
No, you are Hot Stuff Joey Holmes.
And
I'm Jake Russell, and it's been a pleasure, and we're out.
do you know why I'm smiling?
Why are you smiling?
Because it's the end of our first show.
Really?
Now, to be fair, anyone who's tuning into this, thank you.
Thank you
But-
very much. It is our first show. Forgive us if it's a little bit sloppy
And boring.
and uninformative
And boring.
and boring.
Are we live? Right now.